because now it's the time for our very special guest, Hakan Lidbo. Before he will join us on our stage, he will show us one of his, I think, 7 games that he is showing at the Ars Electronica Festival this year. I think this is one is called Matrix.
Correct.
Pronounced correctly. Can you show us the game and tell us a little bit how it works, basically?
Yes, this game / musical instrument is many things at the same time. It's a non-linear sequencer. You're used to, as music producers, to have a sequencer that goes from the left to the right, just to like a music score. But this one is changing direction, 4 different directions every 8 steps. So you have to, by placing a note, you have to think what will it mean in one direction, and that direction, and that direction, and that direction, which is kind of complicated. We have 3 different, it's a synthesizer playing 3 different sounds, so starting with 3 different sounds. One is drums, so I put some drums here. One is playing, we call it bass. And one is playing chords or melodies, so I put these like this. Now I changed the tempo because this is not only a sequencer, this is also modular synthesizers, meaning that I can go into the very architecture of the synthesizer and connect any function with any other function. So for example, I want to change the sound of my bass. I can see on this display how I connect a value called control voltage with an effect. So now the bass sound has echo, and I switch it. It has some other type of strange effect. So it's a non-linear sequencer and 3 layers of synthesizer that has a completely open architecture. But it's also a strategic board game. So the pieces show with the design how they may move. So starting from the middle, this piece can move here, and 1 step ahead and to the diagonally, and that direction. So standing from here, I can take my opponent's piece. We have 4 players, 4 different colors. And each time 1 piece has moved, because it's a cube, it can be any of 24 different pieces, all with different patterns. So if you imagine playing chess, where after each move, any piece can be 24 different pieces. So just imagine the complexity in that. This is not a game for us humans today. It's a game for the humans that we might become.
Very nice. Thank you so
very
much.
Would you join us?
Please join us on our stage. So
here's some water for you.
Okay, thank you.
This is a wonderful sentence to start the conversation, because the idea that you have with your projects is that we as humans have to evolve in terms of how we interact and coexist with AI. So what do you mean when you are saying this is a game that we should play, or a project, a thing that we should interact with in the later state of humanity? What exactly do you mean by that?
I see it as an inspiration tool, because it's very hard for us to imagine. We can imagine who we are and where we come from, but it's very, very difficult to imagine who we will be. And I think that the way that we organize our societies today with education and universities and workplaces, it's basically all built on very, very old structures of armies, which was good when the world was at war everywhere, but now the world is pretty much at peace. And we do, through the internet, coexist in a way that we've never done before. So we need completely different structures. And this game and the other games at Ars Electronica, I like to call them games that are designed for training your non-linear thinking.
And non-linear thinking, what does it mean exactly? Is it supposed to be something that only humans can do well? Or is it supposed to be something that we can do together with AI instances?
I guess both, but I think it's interesting that the way that we are constructed, because we're very good at observing what's around us and what's close to us. I mean, when humans are born, if you met a newborn baby, they know absolutely nothing.
And they do think non-linearly.
Well, we're
least.
very good at processing a lot of data, and then we make sense of it. We're very good at making sense. You know, when you're a child, you can see all these colors or whatever, what is up, what is down, what's a human, what's depth, but then we make sense of it. Whereas an AI or as a computer can see all the data, but you can't make sense of it because all the data has the same value. We get so much data, if you call it data, maybe to compare ourselves with a computer is a stupid comparison, but let's do that. So we get all this data input, but we are very good at making sense of it. And the machine is not good at that. So I think maybe that we on a bridge to be inspired how the AI think. Not to address a problem from where we are right now, or where we come from, but from other perspectives, maybe from where we're going to be.
So how would you explain that your games are preparing us to do this nonlinear thinking? Would you say they're having one thing in common, that they are like this one too complex for us to grab? Or are they all too complex, your games, or is it something else?
No, well, actually, this one is too complex to grab, but as it is also a music instrument, you don't need to understand anything, so you can just play and enjoy. The other games at the festivals are very playable. They're made for us, actually. But they have this thing in common that they, if you compare with chess, where the pieces have certain properties, and the board is 8 by 8, it's always like that. So in these games, the pieces change property throughout the game, and the board changes its size or its function throughout the game as well. So that, I hope, can train us to think about the future, that it will not be, not thinking from the start point what it is today, but what it might be.
So you expect the future and AI in the future to be a big part of our life and to challenge us with a lot of complexity, because we program the AI, so can't we just make it easier for us to cope with it?
I think it's very hard to imagine what it will be. I think it could be useful to look back at history when with the steam engine came, and of course a lot of journalists and scientists and people thought that was terrible. We will never be able to tame this beast, this machine that is so much stronger than ourselves. And I'm even sure that when the first farmer tamed the first ox to put in front of the plows, people said that we can't do that to an ox, they're dangerous. Well, after time they became nice, and after some time also the steam machine became nice, and now we can live with it. I think in one way that we are the generation that is lost in the new technology, just like the first miners blew up in the mines because they couldn't handle the steam machine. So I think that what we're doing, the way we let AI free today, it will have its casualties, and unfortunately we're the generation that is getting lost. But I think over time it will be a beautiful tool for us. It will be a completely natural part of who we are.
So you were talking about your games, or your prototypes are made to teach us about our life with AIs in the future, but do you also think that they could be used, or other games, they could be used to teach the machines? Because what I had in mind was that this would also be a great opportunity for artificial intelligence to use human interaction with each other or with the machine as examples for machine learning, because I think that's maybe one of the most interesting aspects of AI development, that they start to improve upon themselves if they have enough data. So maybe could games be a good training ground for artificial intelligences, hopefully benevolent ones?
I'm not a computer technician, so I can really, I'm an artist, so I just ask questions, but I would guess no. I would guess spending time in life is a much better challenge than playing games, because games are an abstraction. It's not where you have to pick out data and make sense. Game is a simplification of a conflict or a task. So right now, when AI is beating the human Go master, I mean, there's very little reason to believe that's the end of it. I think it's just the beginning. So there will not be an existing game where humans can beat an AI in the future.
Can you imagine a world where not we are taming the AI and we are still the masters, but the other way around, but we have still some idea planted into the AI, how to treat us well, so we can just play games, read books, do nice things, and the AI is covering all the rest, and we can coexist this way? Is this a dystopian idea?
I think where do we get the image of AI? Probably most of us have read science fiction novels or seen films, and that's the image that we have. And we definitely not there yet. I think it's very useful to look at every change in technology, how we laugh at these ridiculous people who said that, who couldn't imagine this change. I mean, whoever said that at IBM or wherever say that, I can't imagine why people would need a computer at home. And we laugh at that guy right now. So I don't want to, I shouldn't laugh at people, but still, a lot of the dystopian images that are painted at the place like Ars Electronica in general and in media, I think it's likely that we'll look back and think that's a little bit silly.
So would you describe your attitude towards the development of artificial intelligence in our everyday life more as a pessimistic or more as an optimistic one?
In general, I'm a very positive and optimistic person. But I think the problem right now is that we live in a system called capitalism that is almost ruling the world. And that was fine to build up the world, to bring prosperity to the world and to create the middle class and some comfort. But when the internet or the AI or the big data is connected to us people, and we spend all our time to tweet, I take a picture, how many likes do I get? 50 likes, do I get 15 likes, do I get 0 likes? And that is instead of me having a social conversation where I'm interesting the people I speak to raise the eyebrows, so I get the confirmation that I'm interesting, or if they laugh, they confirmation that I'm funny. But we even quantify our social behavior, that most human things, so everything is quantified, and then when that is connected to internet, connected to the algorithm capitalism, that could be not dangerous, but it's definitely not good for humans. It's good for the capital, but it's not good for humans.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it always comes back to imagination and creativity, right?
Yeah.
This is the thing that I really get from you, hearing you talk about your projects, that this is something that's still hard to grasp for an AI.
Yeah, or if possible. I mean, there was this at the Ars Electronica, this piano that played like a Glenn Gould or any pianist that you chose, which is nice. But still, watching the piano play by itself, the piano is a machine, and the way of playing, analyzing Glenn Gould's playing technique is an algorithm, and it doesn't touch you. But if you watch Glenn Gould play, you can't because he's not here anymore. But if you could, that would touch your heart. I don't know if just because it is human playing, or is it something else. But I like to believe that creativity will, in that way, or new ideas, truly new ideas, will be something that only humans can do because we exist in a world. And we make sense of what's important. We don't just analyze all the data there is. And
we also don't have this brute force way to do things, to learn things, to like run into the wall like 100 times and then figure out that it's not a good idea to run into a wall. That's what AI does, right? Yeah. Most of the time. And then we laugh about AI. But who has the last laugh in the end? So what's your next project? I mean, you have 7 games here at Ars Electronica Festival, and they are all playable, or most of them?
Yes, all of them are playable. So it makes me happy to see that it's full of people that are scratching their hipster beards and try to figure out how to win in 3-dimensional chess and games
Very
like
good.
that.
And was this like a series of projects that is finished now, or have you moved on to something different, or is this something that you always come back to? Like playful installations?
Yeah, I will always come back to games, I think. But what seems to be the core of the projects that I do is that when me and my colleagues make a project that we don't really know what it is. Is it art? Is it home decoration? Is it is it sports, or is it whatever? Then we're on the right track. So in this case, it's a very complex, very complex musical instrument and a board game at the same time. And I think that's then we got something. We're working on a project right now where we have the art form of drawing, the art form of singing, and the art form of dancing, but we combine that into one system. So if you don't dance or sing, you can't draw. And maybe it won't be great art, but I think it's interesting to see if we can combine things that seemingly not work together. Then we might come up with something that is useless or something that is very interesting. Because I think that, not many years ago, people would have thought that what is most important in life for a lot of people is to feed their social media content. What is that? What's the point of that? What do you want to, just a figure in the corner of your Instagram or your this thing on the computer? How can that be important? And I'm pretty sure that 10 years from now, it will be something that we didn't have a clue that will be important to people. And that will be the most important.
Okay, so in 10 years, social media as we know it right now will be twisted.
I don't know, or even worse.
That's what you're hoping
or maybe
for.
even worse.
Oh, even worse. Okay.
I don't know, but what I'm saying is that by making things that the definition is that to bring things into the world that wasn't here before, that's very important. So instead of just making another synthesizer or another art piece that looks like already is here, it's not so interesting. But to bring something into the world that actually wasn't here before, meaning that we fail a lot. But sometimes when we succeed, it could be good, or we can inspire others to take the same path.
That's actually what we expect from games within our show, to be like unusual, make mistakes, but still do something differently. Thank you so much, Hakan Lidbo, for being here. Thank you for your projects, and we will try to play all of your games soon.
I did win one round of Altaplex already.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
Wow. Okay, so now we will have our very last finishing things.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.